And welcome back to Dwain Woode MD Live, where we don't chase hacks, we don't chase motivation. What we do here is we talk about architecture. We talk about those things that you in your life can put in place to help you to be successful, to help you to be healthy. And we're talking about that here on this episode of Dwain Woode MD Live as we continue talking about blueprints. And in particular, we're talking about why do things seem to fall apart when life gets easy? I understand what happens when I'm in the grind. I understand what happens when things are not going the way I'm expecting. But why in the world does it seem to get backwards when things are getting easy? And that's what we're talking about here as we get into this episode. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we're living limitless lives. I'm here to help you have success in your health, just like you're having in all the other areas of your life, so that you can show up for those things that are important, those occasions, and for those people. You don't need superhuman strength. What you need is a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the support and determination to keep going every single time. So if you're new, go ahead and drop new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we are excited for you to be here. If you've got questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments as well, because I want to make sure that I get to those and answer them for you. A special shout out to all of our community members, wherever you're joining us from whatever city, town, village, country, wherever you are, we welcome you here. And a special shout out to our accelerator members. Thank you for coming through and hanging. I see some folks are coming in already, so thank you for being here. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and had a wonderful day as we get into this week. It's going to be an amazing week for us. I'm excited because we continue in the Blueprint series, and we're coming, y'all, right? We've coming near the end of it, so we've got 2 more shows tonight, and next week's show is going to be the last show for this season. So make sure that you come on and hang out with us as we get into that. So our last show for this season will be on the 22nd, and our first show will be for the new season will be on the 5th. Okay, there's some things going on, so that may change, but for right now, that's what it is. Between those 2 times, I want to make sure you guys are coming out and hanging out. And all of the shows that we've done this entire season, in fact, all the shows that we've done on the life of the channel are still out there. So you can get in there, you can watch them. We've got the Blueprint series, which we're in right now. We've got the Play Your Own Game series, which we did back in the summer. Finishing Strong, the Health Action Plan, the Domains of Health, the fasting shows, all of those are still there. So if you are wanting to go back and watch those, they're right there in the channel. Make sure that if you're sending someone to the channel, that you send them and tell them to watch the Start Here videos. Those are the videos that say, hey, if you want to jump in and get started and know what we've been doing, what's the path we've been on, that's where you want to go. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's just hop right into what we're going to do tonight. I want to go ahead and look at my numbers really quickly. And we're going to do that first, starting with my Libre. So here's my Libre right now. My blood sugar is 95. If you look at the graph down below, you'll see what my blood sugars have been running over the course of today. And you'll see there this early in the morning. Let's see, let's get my finger over that. There we go. And you'll see what those numbers are. This graph right here and right here. You guys want to know what this was? This was 12 o'clock. That's a bag of Cheez-Its right there. 83 to 100, what? 183. So 100-point jump for a bag of Cheez-Its, and then back down to 138. So you guys see that this is for real life right there. And then right here, just before I came on, I ate some jasmine rice and some curry chicken right there. You see that went up from 100 to 136. Okay, so you guys are seeing real time what numbers are doing. All right. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what my Dexcom is saying. And right now, my Dexcom is saying 138. And if I go over the course of 24 hours, just like we saw a minute ago for the Libre, you'll see right about there is when we ate the Cheez-Its. So that's Cheez-Its right there. And then here is, actually, I'm not sure what that second spike was, but right here, right before I came on, this is the, that's that jasmine rice with the curry. Okay? All right. And then I do want to show this graph. And right now we're looking at the 90-day version of my report with 114, my average, 6.0 is my glucose management indicator. The reason I'm doing 90 days is because I want to, that's what we look at when we're looking at blood sugars and A1Cs and so forth, right? So that's where A1C is coming from. And today I got blood drawn, so we'll be taking a look at that coming up. Probably won't be able to, we won't do that until the next season, but we'll look at those so you guys can see what my blood sugars are according to these numbers. And I took screenshots of this today when I went in. I got a finger stick, I got a Dexcom screenshot, I've got a Libre screenshot this morning when I went in to get it. So we'll be able to compare what that is at the same time. And then of course you guys are seeing it right now. This is the 90 days. So this is what I would expect my A1C to be. And this is the Dexcom. The Libre usually runs a little lower. So we'll see which one actually gives us a better number. So make sure you guys come on out when we do that show. All right. What else? Let's do finger sticks. Let's do that really quickly. So I've got my monitors, I've got my Keto Mojo, and I've got my Contour. So let's come over here and grab some strips. And this is for the Contour. Get that in here. And then a blue strip for Keto Mojo for the ketones, brown strip for Keto Mojo for blood sugar. And then let's go ahead and just grab a couple of these out. These are my Lancets that I'll put right there. And then go ahead and open this up. All right, here we are. So this gives me a blood sugar. And this way we can compare. In the office today, I had a lot of people talk to me about blood sugars and what the differences were between the different monitors. And it is one of those things. Let me get this out of the shot. There we go. It is one of the things that can be frustrating because I see it a lot and I deal with blood sugars and deal with monitors. It is not as big a deal to me, but I can see how it can be frustrating. If you check your blood sugar with one monitor and it says 100, and you check it with another and it says 80, a lot of people are like, well, that's a big difference. Well, remember that those things are allowed to be about 20% off of each other, and those are still considered to be similar numbers. All right, so let's see. All right, so that was a good drop. Get that started. Let's get the Contour going as well. And while those are going, I'll put this back up on the screen so we can compare it. So 133 is what the Keto Mojo says. The Dexcom says 136. The Contour says 136. Sorry, Dexcom says 136.5. Contour says 136. Keto Mojo says 33. And then the odd man out right now is the Libre, because the Libre says 93. Okay. And then let's go ahead and we're going to get another drop here because I want to do my ketones. Get that out. And what do you think my ketones are, by the way? What do you think my ketones are going to be? Get that off the screen. Get that one going. Okay. And 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 0.1. Look at that. Okay. I expected it to be low. Okay. Well, so things that are lower than 0.5 considered normal, 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that, therapeutic ketosis. Come on back as we do our shows during the rest of the week, and you'll see the fasting aspect of what we do. We're not talking about fasting tonight, but just wanted to always make sure that we're looking at those numbers so that you are seeing these numbers in real time. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I do these, so that you know what those numbers are and what they can mean, and hopefully that encourages you to check your numbers. All right, so having said that, let's go ahead, and I want to get over and say hello to our community members. Let's see, where are we? Community members. All right, so I see Jennifer. Jennifer was the first one in. What's up, Jennifer? She says, howdy all. So what's going on, Jennifer? Hopefully you're having a good time. Ooh, what's the temperature out there, by the way? Ooh, we're a little cold down here, but I'm sure not as cold as you are. Gian says, hi, Doctor. Hi, LLG. Hi, Jennifer. Cornelia, what is going on? She said, hello, Dr. Jennifer, Gian, LLG. Thank you guys for coming through. Gian says, hi, sis. Hi, sis, how are you doing? Hey, sis, I'm doing well, and you? So just love this. Everybody's just talking and greeting each other. Gian is asking, how's your dad? Let's see. We don't. Okay. So Gian. Praise God, he's stable. So Cornelius reporting. Thank you for letting us know. Gian smiling. Let's see. And so Gian says, "Wow, 0.1. Yeah, 0.1. So and I'm not even fasting. I didn't fast since several days ago. And so Gian is just reporting that it is her 16th week, by the way, of fasting. I plan to do a 72-hour fast. So Gian, thank you for, let me give you a hand clap for that. So we haven't gotten into our fast for this week yet, but come on by as we go through the rest of the week, and you guys will get to see that. So if you have been dabbling in fasting, if you have been interested in fasting, if you wondered whether you should fast, come join us as we go through this week. It's going to be an amazing week. Like I said, this is not a fasting show. We do those as we go through the week, right? We do quite a bit of fasting shows. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to hop into our discussion. But first, let's go ahead and listen to our Move campaign. Let's do that right now. Welcome to Move, metabolic optimization via exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is Move. Let's get started. All right, so if you've ever made progress, you've lost weight, you've improved your health, you had some stable routine, you found momentum, you got off of medication, your blood sugars were great, they told you, oh my goodness, this is so amazing given what you've had happen to you before, and we are amazed at the progress that you've made. You've had that happen. And then slowly watched it unravel. You're not broken. You're not weak. And you're not undisciplined. You're experiencing a predictable human pattern that almost no one teaches or talks about or has a good grasp on. And that's why this conversation matters so much, because once you understand the pattern, then you stop blaming yourself And once you stop blaming yourself, you can finally design for reality. Now, one important note before we jump in, okay? This is a thinking episode. It's not a protocol. It's not a checklist. It's not a step-by-step, do this. We're not fixing behaviors in this episode. We are fixing understanding. Because behaviors without understanding always erodes. Which is why we educate, we empower, and we encourage. So if you're watching right now, settle down. Grab your cup. Got mine right here. Get a piece of paper. Put on your thinking cap. You have to go back and watch the replay. Right? This one is worthy of your attention. So no multitasking, no background noise. This is architecture. And architecture only works when you see the whole structure. Yeah? So we're talking about collapsing. We're talking about this pattern that we go through. This pattern of success and seeming progress. And then we go back the other direction. So I'm going to walk you through a single idea from multiple different angles. I want to make sure that this is clear. I want it to connect to your thinking. If you stay with me, you will recognize yourself somewhere in this story. And more importantly, you'll understand what to build differently the next time. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. Okay? And so we're talking about collapse, right? So the collapse nobody warns you about. And the reason nobody warns you about it is that we really don't understand it that much. It's a misunderstood moment. Here's the blueprint truth that most people don't hear. Progress does not collapse under pressure. It collapses a lot under relief. Now, pressure creates urgency. Relief removes it. Pressure demands structure. Relief invites looseness. And looseness, when it's not designed for, turns into drift. This is why people don't usually fall apart when things are hard. They fall apart when things start to feel better. I want you to think about it, right? So in the middle of the grind, guess what you're doing? You're grinding. You're focused with intensity, laser-like vision, and laser-like powers, apparently. You seem to have superhuman ability to get through that thing. And every muscle, every fiber of you is working. And think about it, right? You're like, man, I can't stop. I go. And we go and we go and we go and we go and we get that thing done, whatever it is. And then when we get to the end of that is when we start to have problems. Yeah? This is where the issue comes. And it is a process that we see over and over and over, and you will see it in yourself. You will recognize it in yourself. Think back over your life and think back over the times when you've had difficult times happening in your life. What did you do? You were in there. You were scrapping, right? You were punching. You were doing your thing. And then you got to the end of that thing, and that's when it began to seemingly fall apart. And that can be frustrating because, after all, you did it. You spent the time. You spent the energy. You put it in. They told you if you did it, that it was going to work. And it worked. And now, what's going on? Okay? So that's the collapse that nobody ever talks about. Right? And that's the misunderstood moment. That's the moment that can cause some confusion. So progress collapses under relief. It is when things ease up. that it seems to have that issue that we're talking about. Okay, so the after success shift, after success shift. Let's talk a little bit about that. And so it doesn't feel like failure until it is. This is a phase that comes after early success. It is rarely named, rarely discussed, and almost never anticipated. You feel better. You're functioning better. Life feels lighter. So nothing feels urgent anymore. You don't quit. You don't rebel. You don't crash. You just ease. You skip one thing because you got this now. And then you delay another. And you tell yourself, I've earned this. And nothing bad happens right away. That's the danger. This is not failure with alarms. It's failure without friction. Like everything seems to be, yeah. Have you ever had that? And here's when most people misread what's happening. Because when drifts begin, it doesn't feel like a failure. It feels like something totally different. And so why is this not a motivation problem? Right? Why is it not a motivation problem? First of all, motivation is not a villain. Now, I know we talk about motivation, right? And we've said motivation was started, but motivation can't continue it. Motivation creates momentum. And I love motivation for that. Like if you want somebody to do some stuff, get them motivated. If you wanted to start right now, motivate me right now. Get me going. People go to a conference. Like we had a big conference here in town, right? People go to the conference and they are pushed. I mean, they are pumped. So motivation has its place. But most people misdiagnose this moment. They say, I lost motivation. But motivation didn't leave you. It did its job. Motivation is designed to start the movement. It is designed to get you going. But it's not designed to sustain the system. In fact, motivation often creates vulnerability. Because when motivation works, it convinces you that effort is no longer required. Because man, for all these years, I've been trying to do this, and I went to that one conference, or I learned that one thing, and I did this one thing, I met that one person, and look at me now, I'm going. So I don't need effort anymore because I'm pumped up. And effort feels optional right before structure disappears. So permission doesn't announce itself as danger. It announces itself as comfort. And that's where the next misunderstanding begins to happen. And it is this idea of relief. Relief rewrites the rules. Your brain shifts from protection to permission. So think about it. Your brain has been surveying the landscape because it's in danger. So you're heightened. It's kind of like that. I watch these documentaries, and they're out there, and the whatever animal, antelope or elephants or giraffes or whoever they are, they're out and they're eating. Right, the giraffes are eating up there. Everybody else is eating down here, and they sense something. They don't quite know what it is. But of course we know, right? Because the camera is on the lion or the tiger. We know that behind that bush or behind that rock or behind that tree, there's a tiger right there. But those animals, they sense something. And so there's a heightened sense of awareness and they're alert. And as long as there's danger, they stay in that position. And anytime that lion or that tiger or that whatever predator comes out, what do? They take off. Why? Because they were paying attention. But relief changes how we think. When things are hard, we protect progress. We're like, oh man, I got to get this done. I got to get it done. We give ourselves permission when things get easier. Permission to loosen up. Oh man, you've been grinding. You got this. Okay, we can back off a little bit. Permission to delay routines. Permission to improvise. And improvisation feels harmless until it becomes habitual. The problem isn't that you relax. The problem is that you relax without guardrails. There's that word, right? We relax without guardrails. So relaxation and relief rewrites the rules. It says, hey, we're good. And so comfort is not stability. Comfort is a false signal, if you will. Feeling better does not equal being secure. Ooh. Comfort feels like safety. I'm not in pain anymore. Comfort feels like things are good. I went through rehab. Comfort feels like, yeah, we've arrived. I've lost the weight. But comfort is not stability. Stability is designed. Comfort is temporary because something else can come up. Comfort tells you you can stop paying attention. Back to those animals, right? You know what happens? Yeah, that lion, and they, okay, yeah, we got away. And if they're not careful, what happens? They lose the sense of awareness. Stability says you don't have to panic, but you still have to maintain. That's stability. Comfort says, hey, it's all right now. We got it. Most people mistake one for the other, and that mistake is expensive. So if comfort can't be trusted as a signal, the question then becomes, what actually keeps progress stable? And one of the blueprint principles is this: structure protects progress. You know we were coming there, right? Structure protects progress even and especially on easy days. Yeah. When things are good, when you're excited, when things are going well, when things seem to be flowing. So here's the central principle that I want you to get. Structure protects progress. Structure protects progress. Not intensity, not your willpower, not your motivation. Structure protects progress. And structure matters most when things feel easy. When things are hard, right? When things are hard, you've got a structure, right? You know you got to get that thing done. And so you are prioritizing things. But when things get easy, if your system only works when you're under pressure, it's not a system. It's a reaction. So structure doesn't replace identity change. It creates the conditions where identity redesign can actually happen. But structure alone isn't the end of the story, because structure protects progress. It doesn't explain why progress keeps reverting. Why does progress keep reverting? Well, progress keeps reverting because of identity lag, an identity lag. What does that mean? Temporary changes collapse without an identity redesign. This is where a lot of people get confused. They experience short-term change without an internal redesign. They get some measure of success. They start doing things, but they're still being the same person. And that's the gap. That's the identity gap. because behavior can be forced temporarily. You've heard me say it before. Anybody can do anything for an amount of time. If you tell me, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z and you'll get this benefit, I can do that for a while. But if nothing is changing inside, after a while, that becomes a chore. It becomes a task. It becomes arduous. And guess what? I revert to what I am. And that gap matters because behavior can be forced. Identity must be redesigned intentionally from the inside out. So when pressure lifts, the brain restores consistency. Not because you failed, not because you lacked discipline, but because identity always wins. Identity is going to win. This is why structure mattered. Not to wait for identity to catch up, but to actively support the redesign of identity. Let me say that again. The structure is not there to keep you and to keep. It's almost like we think that the structure is changing us. The structure is not changing us. The structure is there to support the redesign of the identity that we're creating. It's kind of like the scaffolding that they put up when they're building a building or a house. Right? They put the form up and then they pour the concrete or they build whatever they're building. And guess what? The form goes away. Because now the thing is there. And so the structure is what's there to support the redesign. Without identity change, behaviors always revert because identity always wins. And once identity pulls behavior back, most people assumed that they have failed. But what actually happens next is more subtle. It is the drift. The drift. So why do most people drift instead of quit? Right? So the drift happens because there's no decision. And no decision is the same as erosion. Most people don't quit. And people don't say, well, I give up on my health. I give up on whatever it is that you're trying to change. That's not where we go. We don't make an active decision. And because we don't make an active decision, we drift. So gradually, we move away from the thing that may have been working. And so what we're doing is we're moving more and more in alignment with who we are, because the brain does not want there to be any discordance. Remember, the brain's job is to protect identity at all costs. What you think you are is what the brain wants you to be. And so if you are believing in a particular way, then all the things that you are trying to do, the brain is not going to let that be successful. Drift is what happens when there's no clear stopping point. No dramatic failure, no defining moment, just a slow loosening that feels reasonable in the moment. After all, I'm not where I was. Can't tell you how many times I hear that. Well, at least my A1C is not 14. Yeah. At least my blood sugar is not 500. But a slow drift back that feels reasonable in the moment. That's why drift is dangerous. It doesn't trigger an alarm. You guys know I'm a sci-fi superhero comic person. And there's an episode of the Justice League. Flash is really fast, right? And they had this force field. And he was throwing all these things at the force field. And the faster he threw through them, the more the force field held. And then he realized, he was like, wait a minute, the faster I throw this thing. So what he did was he slowed it down and he just lobbed it over there. And guess what? Because it was going so slow, it got through the force field. And that's what happens. Because there's no big alarm, there's no big force field that goes up. It's just a gradual, slow moving in a direction. And your body, your brain, there's no alarm that goes off. And before we know it, it's 3 months down the road, it's 5 months down the road, it's a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. You're like, oh my goodness, what happened? Well, we drifted. Which raises a deeper question. Not why do people drift, but when does progress really get tested? So the real test actually doesn't come on the hard day. Right? So, because the hard day, guess what? You're amped up. You got it. You got the power. You got the motivation. You got the desire. You're aware. Cortisol is flowing, and all of the surveilling antenna are up. Your body has like multiple cameras and it's looking for everything, and everywhere you're seeing all the stuff that's going on around you. Nothing's getting by you. But on the easy day, can the system survive comfort? Here's the real question. Does my system still function when I feel good? I've told you, and you've probably watched games, and watched basketball game. My son is a big basketball fan, and it's incredible sometimes to watch a team that comes out, bam, and they are rocking it, and everything that they're shooting is going in, right? They can't miss anything, and they are way ahead, and they come out the second quarter or the second half. And all of a sudden, it seems like, is that the same team? So notice what happened, right? The people who are losing, what do they now have? They now have focus. They now are surveying. They now are amped up. They now have all that cortisol running through them. And the team that was winning, the team that was up front, the team that was there, they're like, oh, we got this now. So the question is, does my system still function when I feel good? Not when I'm scared, not when I'm desperate, not when I'm highly motivated, but when life is calm, when things are slowed down, because that's where most systems can run into trouble. If that's the real test then design, not comfort, has to change. It's not your effort that has to change. It's the design. So we've got to design not just for those days that we've always been told, prepare for the bad day. We also have to design for the drift. We have to design for reality. And that was really a key component. Okay, let me pause there for a minute. Let's put a pin. A lot of times when we're looking, and once again, I put my hands up. When we're planning, we plan for the perfect. I remember we were coming up with a budget early on in my marriage. And the budget was, y'all, this was like the panacea of budgets. This was like the budget of budgets. Every single category was taken care of. We had money for this. We got the money for that. We got it in the envelope. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? And so everything was boom, there. But you know what we didn't plan for? We didn't plan for stuff not to work out like we planned. So we designed for the perfect situation. We did not design for reality. And as you know, reality doesn't care what you designed for. It's coming. It's doing its thing. Blueprint thinking doesn't assume ideal behavior. Blueprint thinking does not assume ideal behavior. It assumes human behavior. It assumes life, which means that people relax, people forget, people improvise, not because they are bad people, not because they don't care, but life is happening, y'all. So instead of demanding perfection, let's design for it. Let's design for the drift. We build structures that will tolerate, not collapse when things are easy. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Just like we plan for the bad or the crazy stuff, plan for this. And this is where willpower quietly sometimes will fail people. Not because it's weak, but because it's the wrong tool. In the office, we have people who come in and I'll say to them, hey, your problem is not a food problem. Your problem is not that you like to eat food. Although there's some pretty good stuff, good things out there, right? As a matter of fact, you guys know mine. The problem is not a food problem. The problem is that you're lonely. And when you're lonely, the natural tendency for you is comfort, well, for all of us, and the thing that brings comfort is the food. The problem is that you don't like your job. You're frustrated. And you want to soothe. And the thing that soothes is food. The problem is that you are a frustrated writer, frustrated singer, frustrated musician, frustrated whatever you are, you're frustrated, and the thing that calms that part of you is food, and so we eat. And I'll say to people, so what's your plan for not being lonely? What's your plan for not being frustrated? What's your plan for not being whatever the feeling is? And you know what they say to me? I just have to try harder. Yep. And it's kind of like I want $1 million right now. Let me see. I'm going to try. Guess what? No $1 million. Because my trying harder is not the answer. So instead of trying harder, let's ask a different question. Why is willpower the wrong tool? Willpower is too expensive. It runs out right when you stop noticing. When the threat is obvious, but drift doesn't feel like a threat. So willpower never activates during that process. Let me say it again. Willpower works best. I'm gonna get in when there's a threat. Because I'm going to push through this. I'm going to make it through. I'm going to hold on for dear life. I'm getting through this because you perceive a threat. Your brain, your body perceives a threat. But when there's no threat, there's no need for willpower. So willpower never comes to your rescue. You know what does? Structure does. That's why I tell people, what are your guardrails? What are the guardrails? What are the things that are around you that when you bounce into them is going to say to you, hey, you've gone too far? And this is where structure gets revealed. Different conditions expose different weaknesses. Progress isn't tested all at once. I know that. It's tested in different conditions. There are moments of pressure. There are moments of relief, moments of routine, moments of disruption. And each condition reveals something different about the structure that you've created, the structure you've built. The mistake that we make is we judge our progress by the effort that's required. If I don't have to put any effort, then I've made it. But effort isn't the real question. The real question is, does your structure hold when the conditions change? Does your structure hold? Whatever the condition is. And it can be going from a bad situation to a good situation. So do you know? So regulation, emotional regulation. Emotional regulation. For a lot of people, it doesn't matter what the emotion is. Because we've not learned how to deal with the emotion. We've not learned how to deal with the emotions that come up. So you could be happy, like you just seen all of your favorite people. You just had an amazing trip. You've had a tremendous time, and you go home and you're so full of emotion. And because we've not learned how to deal with emotion, guess what we do? To settle the emotions, what do? We eat. Come on, I'm putting man up. So it's not that emotion was bad or a negative emotion, it's that we've not learned how to regulate our emotions. And that's one of the big things that we find as we are in our modern society, that we have not learned. We don't learn how to regulate ourselves. And because of that, we end up in positions that cause us long-term detriment. So does your structure hold when the conditions change? Not when you're trying harder, not when you're highly focused, but when life simply shifts. That's where the system speaks. And when you see that clearly, everything that we've talked about collapses into one truth. And know what that one truth is? That you have to design also for days when things feel easy. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. Progress doesn't fail because you stop caring. Like I have not run into I shouldn't say, I was going to say ever. But it is the rare person that I run into that says to me, like, I don't care about my health. I don't see that. But yet everything around us, everybody around us, the system around us is trying to convince us that we don't care. Like, if you cared enough, if you believed enough, right? What do you mean? Are you telling me that I want to have a heart attack? That I want to have bad kidneys? That I want to have neuropathy? That I want to have is that really what you're telling me? That that's my desire? So it's not that people don't care. Progress fails because the structure was never designed for the changes that happen. We've preached so much, hey, prepare for the bad days, that we forget to talk to people about, hey, what about when you're having some successes? What are the things that you put in place to help you maintain the success? You want to build for those days as well. When things feel easy, when the drift can happen, that's where sustainability lives. Yeah. So we want you to think architecture over effort. Understanding changes everything. That's the blueprint. Not a tactic, not a rule, but a way of seeing what's been happening to you all along. And once you see it, this is the good part right here. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's happening. It's right there. And y'all, I'm so excited. Blueprint. Where does drift show up? Yeah, we're not judging. I want you to leave with a simple reflection, not an assignment, not a challenge, just an awareness. Where do things start to loosen once you feel better? Not dramatically, quietly. That's not a flaw. That is information. And when you understand this, it makes a world of difference. Make sure you join us as we continue our Blueprint series. We'll see you at the next episode. All right? Take care. Y'all. Am I going to say it? You know I'm going to say it, right? This right here is one of my favorite conversations. And every time I was making a point, I was like, okay, I could have spent an hour talking about that particular point. What you're hearing me talk about comes from my personal understanding of my behavior and seeing thousands of patients now over the years. And understanding that most of us aren't struggling with the disease because of the disease. We're struggling with this disease because of the surroundings. And the surroundings have to do with our structure. You're not broken. You're not a bad person. You're not, you don't hate your life. Although some of us, there's some bad situations, so I'm not minimizing that. But what I'm saying is that for the most part, we want to do well. But we just don't have the right understanding and the right structure. So I'm glad when we get to hang out and we get to walk through this process, because it is so much fun, y'all, to see and to see people making changes. I got somebody who sent me a message today on one of the shows, one of the episodes, about what they're doing, and their A1C had dropped, I think, from 8 or 9 down to the 7s, because they've been watching, they've been listening, they've been following. This series exists because lasting change requires more than effort. It requires understanding. It requires you to think deeply. We're not chasing perfection. We're building a system that lasts. Not for today or for tomorrow or for next week. We're building a system that's lasting forever. And that's why I love everything I do. We do, and we talk about the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And we're all excited when we get to hang out with you, get to hang out with you in this space. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. We empower with the tools, and we encourage with the community that you are part of. One of the things that you'll see on our channel and on the website soon is we're going to be starting a an email list, right, with weekly it's called Woode Life Design Daily Briefs, not daily, but weekly briefs. Little tips, little practical tips on a weekly basis that you can just digest on a micro level, right? Not big, momentous things, but just simple things that you can do. Simple changes that you can make, because that's where lasting change happens. It's not the big, grandiose things that we do. It's the micro adjustments that happen on a daily basis. And when we can do that, and we are reminded of that, then we see that we are heading in the direction that we need to go. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be showing up on our website. You can sign up for that. Like I said, it's a weekly thing that will come out. That's going to be launching later this week, actually. Okay, so it's not. We're not waiting until the new year, and I want to emphasize that to our community. You're not a New Year resolutions group, right? We're not waiting until then to start. That's where we've been laying the foundations so that you understand when January 1 comes, we're ahead of the game. The rest of the world can on January 1 start doing what they think they're going to do. But we've been heading in that direction the whole time. Right? You have the platform, you have the knowledge, you have the understanding, you have the tools. And now it's just a matter of taking those tools and running with them. So invite your family, invite your friends. As we get into the new year, I want you guys to be ambassadors. I want you guys to be the voice for the changes that you're seeing in your personal lives. Let everybody know that this is what's going on. This is what I'm doing. Don't keep it to yourself. And when you do that, man, we get so much benefit. Hey, y'all, join us as we move through the rest of the week. We'll be doing our fasting starting tomorrow, and of course all of our check-ins throughout the week. And then on Friday we'll be doing our complete review of fasting, how to prepare for the fast, how to get through the fast, and then of course how to end that fast successfully. So make sure you come on through and hang out with us as we go through the rest of the week. And our community members will have that link up for you here in just a little while so that we can meet up after the show. Hey, y'all. Thank you for coming through. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Remember, I'm here to help you have success in your health, just like you're having in all the other areas of your life. You don't need a superhuman strength. You need a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the support and determination to keep showing up so you can be there for those important things in your life, your family, your friends, your community, and for those dreams that you've been pouring into. Thank you for coming through. Let's go ahead and we'll take a listen to our Move campaign, and then we'll be out of here. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Move, metabolic optimization via exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is Move. Let's get started.